It seems like it doesn't make
We're going live. We're live. It seems like what?
It seems like you should be able to manage it from here, so the comments go out to both, but you can't. Like I have both my screens open.
Oh, because you're a guest and I'm the presenter.
And they don't have dual presenters or like a moderator?
I don't think so. I don't think there's a way that I can see. No, I can kick you out of the studio and I can ban you from the studio. I can't do anything else. Hey, everybody, how the heck you doing?
Hi, guys.
Welcome to our live stream. I've got to adjust my camera a little bit here. Just a minute. I think there we go. Because I've got this graphic in here now. There we go. Is that better? That looks better. How are you doing, April?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Reality is setting in. The reality of staying in place is setting in. If people come in, just finishing up a snack. We had a conference call this morning. You didn't have to participate. It was Liz and me. We're working on a new project. It was great, but yeah, I think yesterday I struggled a little bit yesterday. I just not terribly, but I just kind of went. Yesterday I struggled. Why do I hear an echo? I just not terribly, but
it's now gone. That was me. Sorry.
That was you. Got it. Yeah. So I was not a horrible kind of realization, just like, oh, we're into this for like 3 or 4 more weeks probably of this working from home, this sheltering in place, which I think we're all finding is going to weigh on us, and I think it's going to hit people at different times pretty hard, and I think we better be psychologically prepared for it and not be surprised when it does. Yeah, I think that what we talked about last week with Mark Schaefer was absolutely. The more I thought about it, the more relevant it became. The fact that he was saying that we're in grief, we're suffering from grief right now. We're in mourning for something that we've lost, and because it's snuck up, and it seems to be just happening incrementally and slowly. I think that we might not be recognizing as much. We're kind of like that frog, the metaphor of the frog that gets boiled to death. That the water gets hotter and hotter around it, and it doesn't recognize that it's being killed.
Right.
I think that's kind of what we're experiencing, because just one little bit of freedom and after another little bit of freedom after another little thing has just kind of been layered on every day, just a little bit more. We're progressing a little bit more to the point now where most of us are sheltering in place, etc. At least certainly all of us here in Canada are. I think most of you in the States are, although there's a fair number of areas that aren't yet, which is terrifying.
I'm amazed at our healthcare workers and our first responders and all the people that, like the grocery store people and the truck drivers that are making, for.
Yeah, we're going to require a lot of them. They're going to have to be there. Yeah. Big unknown of what's to come. Yeah, it is an uncertain. There's an uncertain future for us all. And that's really what I thought we'd talk about today. I wanted to make this. We want to make as much as possible this Gray Matters Unscripted about helping our community understand the potential of the online world and what's happening and how they can reinvent themselves and repurpose their lives and take advantage of social marketing and all of the tools, and talk about the fun stuff like podcasting and YouTube videos and building email lists and all that kind of fun stuff. But I think we're going to have a balance. We've been publishing our regular content on YouTube. We did a video this week on Zoom, which did very well. We did another one on email spam, on Gmail being overly aggressive with their spam. So we're going to continue with our main content as much as possible. But I think we would be foolhardy if we didn't spend some time with our community talking about the issues that we're facing as a group, because we need this. We need the release. And I am enjoying the time I spend when I can focus on work as work. But additionally, I think we'd be tone deaf if we weren't paying attention to kind of working through this, workshopping through this, because with this isolation, we don't have the normal release that we used to have of talking to people and just getting out and getting social with people. And
I think you don't realize it. I actually don't think you realize how much you interact with people on a regular basis, right? I feel like I feel like I am home a lot, but definitely feeling
restricted. But you always have the freedom to get out.
Yes.
And I talk about in one of my keynotes. I talk about the impact of technology on our society, and I talk about the different communication metaphors that we use, and I use it as a cudgel to beat baby boomers over the head about embracing technology and not resisting technology. Is where this comes from. But I have a line that I use over and over again, which is, from cradle to grave, we do one thing. And there's only one common thread that ties every human being on the planet together. Only one, I think. And that is the one constant in all of our lives, from the moment we're born till the moment we pass, is communication. We're born to communicate. That's what we do. That's what we're all about. Everything we do is in service of community, of communication. And that's why we're so good at it. That's why we can embrace these tools like texting, and we can make it work, and we can learn how to use emojis to express thoughts, and that's why we are so good at inventing technologies like this, the streaming tools that we're using now. We're built to communicate, but we really crave the intimacy of personal communication, the freedom to do it as well. All of this that we're doing now is a pretty good substitute, but it doesn't replace it. I think that, it's constricting to a certain extent. So, but thank goodness we have it. Could you imagine if this had happened 15 years ago?
No, and we had a conversation with our kids the other night at the dinner table, because they've always been connected in some kind of communication, right? So cell phones and all this stuff. And I said, can you imagine? And I feel like I'm my parents talking, my parents, when they used to talk to me, remember when? But I'm like, we did not have cell phones. We didn't have the internet. So if this was when we were younger, our communication was, maybe we had Atari, if we were lucky. we had a TV that probably didn't have remote channels, right? Like you probably still had to change the channels. So yes, without this communication, I think it would be the world, it would be a different place. And we are lucky. And I'm glad to see so many people taking advantage of the Zoom meetings that, and using that to communicate with their families. And, the Today Show this morning had a very kind of picture video from around our country here. And it had first responders, and it had people, like families giving messages in the nursing home, iPads, and being able to communicate with loved ones that are, really stuck at home. So, and honestly, I made me cry. Like it was just, it's just a very different place we're in. Yeah,
indeed. Just having a look technically at what we're doing here with the, we've got this new beautiful graphic right there. But when we bring up somebody's text, it comes up right over top. So we got to talk to Liz about maybe flipping the graphic so that when we pull people's captions up, when we pull up their comments, that it happens differently. There it is. Little technical piece. Just kind of figure out. By the way, for those of you that are wondering, the technology that we're using today for streaming is I'm using a tool called StreamYard. I like to use Ecamm Live as my main broadcast tool for doing these live streams. And it works, it gives us a lot more functionality than does StreamYard as far as we adding different value and different elements to the broadcast. Having said that, StreamYard allows us currently to be able to publish to multiple platforms. If you don't use the free version, but if you upgrade, you can publish to 2 live streams at the same time for the intermediate level, and then more if you pay for their top level. And Ecamm will allow us to stream to multiple channels at the same time. Talking about YouTube Live and Facebook Live, and we're on both. And I can see where you all are in the chat here from which one you're coming in from. However, currently Ecamm doesn't allow us to schedule those through the Ecamm interface, whereas StreamYard allows us to schedule them. And that's one of the things about doing live streams is you want to make sure that they are, for the most part, you want to make sure that your live streams are scheduled so they become destinations where people plan to come, and they come with a little bit more intent, and then they stay with you and they comment a little bit more and they engage a little bit more as we go along. So we'll be keeping an eye on your comments. We can talk about almost anything you guys want to talk about today. This is not really an Ask Me Anything. I do have a little bit of a theme that I want to talk about, which is the kind of the coping mechanisms dealing with how much fear we're living through right now. And what I'm hoping is the answer, at least for me, what I'm hoping is the answer. But in April will help me out with all of the comments that you guys, if you guys want to take us off into different directions and ask us questions. They can be technical, they can be from a coping perspective. We don't have a firm agenda today. But I do want to talk about the one thing. Like yesterday I said, I struggled a little bit yesterday, just not really, just kind of like I felt weary. Yesterday, I wouldn't say I felt depressed. I don't think it was that severe, because I've kind of girded my loins for the long haul, but I felt weary. I felt more tired than I normally would yesterday, and I'm sure that that's a result of all of it. But what I'm holding out on is trusting the system. And by trusting the system, I'm not talking about trusting any of our governments or anything like that, but trusting that kind of the human process, that we will figure out and weather this, that this current situation, and I don't want to make light of it for anybody that's being impacted from a personal nature, from a devastating nature of a loved one or something like that being involved. But as a community, looking at how we are going to react to this, we're all in the same place as we come out. That's kind of what we have to trust, that we have to believe that nobody is going to benefit, that nobody is going to come out ahead of the game, and that there's nothing that we should be doing from that perspective of trying to jumpstart. Instead, it's like we're all in a river and we're all kind of moving down at the same point. And when we're through the rapids, we can all kind of crawl out on the beach at the same time. That's a weird analogy, but we are. Look who's being impacted by this. The Prime Minister of the UK. They said today, he is being impacted. This
Secretary of State just got his confirmed too. So that's
American or the UK?
No, in the UK, his
they have
the health secretary.
Yeah, they're the health secretary and the prime minister. So it's universal. So we're all going through this at the same time. So I think the trust that we have to have is we have to trust that as a community, we will kind of all come out of it at the same time together. And also that the investment that we make in ourselves, we have to trust the investment that we make in ourselves is going to be worthwhile. For our community, for baby boomers and Gen X, could this ever come at the right time? No, but could it have come at a more vulnerable time? We built Gray Matters to deal with the unique prospect that we are all facing right now. Those of us that are still employed, that are still in the workforce, we're facing the end of that part of the end of that chapter in our lives. We're looking at transitioning out. We're looking for ways to remain relevant. We're looking for ways to remain engaged, to continue supporting ourselves, to have income as we enter into the next phase beyond the traditional work phase. That's what the basis of this entire Gray Zone, Gray Matters community is. And then having this dropped in our laps at this point here is just going to exacerbate the situation for so many. I imagine a lot of you are sitting there now facing the prospect that the job that you were doing, that you saw the end of already, you don't know if you'll be going back into that same situation for the term that you have left, because you don't know how the companies are going to react. You don't know how you're going to react. You don't know how the companies are going to react. So all of it could change. And we face just so much uncertainty as we go into it, which is where the fear comes from. But out of the other side, everything has to continue. Commerce has to continue. The world has to continue. We have to get back to some form of normalcy as we come out of it. And indeed, we might not be going back into the same place that we left. For all of us, it's going to be slightly different or dramatically different. But you have to trust that you are still relevant and you are still important as you move into this next phase. We were talking about at a very high level about a membership site that we're planning here at Dottotech for the Gray Matters community. And one of the overriding themes that so many of us have that have worked for a long time in one job or in one industry, as we look to pivot, as we look to transition, is we don't have confidence that the world values us anymore, values our skills anymore, or sees or is interested in what we have to say anymore. We're not sure that we have a voice. And if we don't have a voice, we don't have relevance. And that's a very scary prospect for all of us. I wanted to make sure that today we talk about that I kind of encourage you to recognize that we still have a voice, that you still have relevance, that the world's going to change, and we've survived for a long time, and we have a very unique set of skills, each one of us, and it's still going to have a place. It might take us a little while to figure out exactly how to apply those skills, and it might not look the same way as it did before. It probably won't in many cases, but they're still there. And that's where we have to have trust. We have to trust in the value that we bring to the table. And if you trust yourself, if you trust that you still have that value, I think that gives us a little bit of armor to deal with the struggles that we're going to be facing over the next month and a half. So that was it. I'm going to get off my soapbox. Let's hear what people have to say.
Let's see. Ray has an interesting comment. It's been crazy for us in Toastmasters. We've had to cancel our weekly club meetings. Many clubs are going online for virtual meetings via Zoom. We canceled our annual district meeting, and we are working on online speech contests. That's fun. They are logistically challenging online.
Oh, Ray. So let's point him at the at our Zoom video. I don't know if for the people that haven't used it, I recorded a Zoom video on just the basics of using Zoom. It's on YouTube. It's been really doing well. YouTube is suggesting it like crazy. Its numbers are doing well. Pat myself on the back, Steve. But really, the reason is my wife is a teacher, and she's the guest in it. She actually walks through it with me as I show her all of the different touch points. But hopefully that will help you. I think we're going to figure out some really creative ways to use some of these tools. You know what? I wish we still had Blab. This is good, but Blab would have been better, what we're doing here. But yeah, it's so hopefully that you guys will figure it out. But those losing touch with those communities, losing touch with those members, I think we're going to have to make a concerted effort not to cocoon too much, to reach out. And maybe every day, reaching out to one of your people who is your friend from work or a friend that you used to meet for coffee and stuff like that. Not just on the phone, but use a video conferencing tool. You can use Zoom. You can use the free version of Zoom. You can use, there's a bunch of different tools that you can use. You can use Skype. You can use FaceTime, depending on what you have. Google Hangouts, if you've got it. But you can reach out and make sure that you're exercising that social and caring muscle, and that you're talking to other individuals, and I think that's a healthy thing. I've got a couple of friends that got calls booked with later today.
And I've heard a lot of people complaining about sometimes the live streaming is slow, and I think that you should anticipate that using these tools that there might be a bandwidth issue because it is heavily heavily popular.
We definitely experienced that on Webinar Wednesday this week, didn't we?
Yes, we did. So Bob Poole saying, my 92-year-old mother tells me she is going stir crazy and is tired of only seeing people online. She is online. 2 of my siblings live near her and drop off groceries, etc., but she's not seeing anyone in her apartment building. To make it more difficult, she's almost totally deaf, but reads lips well, which allows her to socialize. Yeah.
Yeah, that is super tough. There's a lot of stories that are breaking our hearts. When somebody is sick with the virus, the loved ones aren't able to visit them in hospital, and for the sad percentage that are passing, that's they're alone and their family isn't able to be with them. It's heartrending. It's truly heartrending. That's for sure.
Severio on YouTube is when you started talking about Zoom. I'm doing that so I tell myself that's the best I can do to control my personal circumstances, and I can call friends and relatives on the phone as well. They don't have computers. Yeah,
it's a good thing. That's we do what we can. As far as how we can get it. That's how we can communicate. Ray says, I retired in January and from the healthcare. I'm grateful that I don't have to leave home to go work. Yeah, although a lot of you are being conscripted back into service. If they, what area do you live in, Ray? And when in the UK, they made a call for retired medical staff and for the volunteers to help, and they had a pretty overwhelming. My wife's father is a retired internist, but he has a lot of he has compromising conditions that he doesn't feel safe going back. So he's not going to be doing that. Although I think he might do some online stuff. But if they ask, are you willing to go back? It's a tough call. That's a tough call. It's a scary time.
And I worry about a lot of these, well, really anybody that's by themselves. Like my mother-in-law lives alone, and, she's pretty active for her age, but, check in with her, like today we're going to go over there, but we're not going in. We're going to drop off some stuff for her. But then I talked to another person this morning I had a phone meeting with, and she's single, she lives alone. And she said, she's like, I like living by myself. She's like, but I'm really feeling that isolation in this circumstance because again, I didn't realize how much that I could easily go, be like, hey, you want to go get some dinner? Or, hey, I want to go to the grocery store and not even think about it. And that it is feeling, very isolating. So I worry about those people that are by themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that is those that live alone, I feel for. Although sometimes I feel for me living with others.
Well, my husband said we can share our kids if anyone needs any.
Probably. Gordon says he's getting to know his neighbors a little better. Several are snowbirds that are in quarantine, helping wherever I can. Yeah, if those of you that do go out, like I tapped on the neighbor's door and said, I'm going to the store. Can I get you anything? And through the window, no. It's fine. It's good to know. But yeah, that's yeah.
Stephen is mentioning he had a member of his local VFW, the Veterans of Foreign Affairs branch, pass from has COVID-19. Didn't know him, but it hits a little bit closer to home than it might otherwise.
Yeah, well, we did in our mastermind group yesterday. Kevin Donnell, who's on the call with us, he's here. He was telling the story how he was here in Vancouver with his partner who is in the dental business, and they were at the conference with 15,000 people, and there was a few dentists there that were or a few attendees there that were contagious, and one dentist has since passed away from that conference, and they were under quarantine for 14 days. He was stuck here for 14 days before he could get home. Bob says, I'm not waiting for the current situation to change. I decided to move forward on one thing I've been saying I wanted to do, but didn't because I think I had no time at the time. Now's the time. I'm relaunching my podcast. Oh, good stuff that I let go when I was going through multiple surgeries. That is fantastic, Bob.
I don't know about you. You said yesterday was a tough day, but I'm having a hard time managing my time. I feel like we don't have a routine anymore. The kids don't get up for school, so everything is out of whack.
That's interesting. Because when one of the ones that launched that we talked about last week was how you could take advantage of this time and you could concentrate on some things that you hadn't done before. But I'm with you. I'm finding that I have and I think part of the reason that I feel I don't have as much time as I think maybe I should have is I do spend a lot of time, and I know it's not healthy time, but I do spend a lot of time monitoring the world's events, watching news, reading news stories, and trying to come to, like when our prime minister has his news conference, we stop, we tune in. We wait. We've got a local minister of health here in British Columbia who Shannon and I quite like how she presents herself and the information she gives, very clear and concise, and it encourages us a lot. But, we're sitting there, we're going to take Farley for a walk yesterday, and she goes, oh no, she's on in 15 minutes. So we waited the 15 minutes and then watched the live stream and then took Farley. So we literally lost 15 minutes just sitting there and twiddling our thumbs while we're waiting for this. So, and I kind of feel guilty that this week's live stream is the same. We're talking about the topic, but I don't think that we can, if you can slide into work mode, if you can lose yourself in work, that's great. In the past, I used to lose myself in the news. I used to say, okay, I'm tired of work. I need a break. So I'll go watch what's happening in the news or something else. Now that world is flipped. My attention, my focus is on what's happening in the world. And work is now the diversion. That's not a good thing, I don't think. No. It's not a healthy thing long term, but I think we also just have to recognize that we're in that crisis. We're in that grieving period when things aren't normal. When my dad died, I went through a period of time when work was the exact same, when life hurt. And work was a release. Work allowed me to spend some time and forget about things. But I would always feel guilty because I thought, I should be mourning, I should be doing the things. But then when I was working, I actually felt better. And it's a bizarre mental mind thing we all go through. But it was, I felt guilty about not suffering for a period of time. Anybody that's gone through it knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Lori said, humor is the one thing that's helping me through this.
Yeah.
And it's Lori, I think so. I have teenagers at home, and my daughter in particular, she loves TikTok. So they've been making TikToks. And even this morning, we have a family group text, and she texted, actually, my youngest texted something. And you're right, humor is great. And they send me these funny things. And I sit there and I'm like, I just don't understand this channel, but it's funny. It's funny. You need fun.
Yeah. Coach Mel, no, we're not using Zoom to do this podcast. We're using a web-only tool called StreamYard, StreamYard. So StreamYard is a streaming service that you log into, and if you pay for the upgraded version, you can stream to multiple services at the same time. And it's got some good basic switching functionality. If I had my druthers, I would be using a tool called Ecamm Live, which we've done a lot of videos on. You can stream directly out of Zoom as well. But the issue with those tools is you can't schedule the stream and make it a destination. You just have to kind of go live. So occasionally, you notice, hopefully most of you notice that we send out an email saying we were going to be live with the link to this page. Plus, in your notifications, you would have seen it either in the Facebook group, or if you follow us on YouTube, you would have seen the notification there where we scheduled this about a week ago. And just like we'll be scheduling next week's live stream coming up sometime after this today or tomorrow morning, I'll schedule it. But so it will appear in your feeds there in both Facebook and in YouTube. StreamYard allows us to do that scheduling. Soon Ecamm will allow us to do that scheduling, but Zoom would not allow us to do that kind of scheduling. So Zoom's good for kind of ad hoc last minute things, which is, I don't think, always the best way to be doing a live stream. I think you want to have some intent, people kind of choosing it as a destination to view. That's my theory there. Okay.
Sorry. Sorry. I'm like,
Dr. Henry is on in 5 minutes. What should I do? You can listen to Dr. Henry.
Work is good for the soul. It gives us purpose. Yes, Dot Media was saying. Let's see here.
Structure your day is critical. A long walk, no. It's too much. It's much to break up in 2 short walks and bookend your day. I would agree with you only from one perspective. I think that works for you. I think whatever is going to get you through the day right now is it. The best days that I've had in the last week are the days that I started work really early in the morning. 4:30, I couldn't sleep. I got up. I worked from 4:30 till about 7:30 in the morning. So I got 3 hours worth of really good work done, got a video packaged and out, got all the work done on a video, and I felt like I got a really good day done. And then the rest of the day was just broken up into little pieces of dealing with family and stuff like that. So whatever, I think we all have to kind of work to get through the day, but it's some sort of structure and a heavy dose of grace, not beating ourselves up over things when we don't, if we don't get as much done in the day as we want.
Other than StreamYard, is there an equivalent to Ecamm Live for Android users?
I thought that's what I clicked on. There it is. Greg asks. Android, I'm streaming from the desktop, not from an app itself. If you are on your smartphone, I can't think of any tool on the smartphone itself that will allow you to stream to multiple platforms. You have to do that from a desktop, I believe, unless somebody can correct me. So other than StreamYard, there is, what's the video? Ecamm, certainly on the Mac. Live, Be Live. Be Live is another one that works, which is very popular. A lot of our friends are affiliates, and they push Be Live. So yeah, that's it. That's another option. Lawrence, it's like a leading question, the exact question I wanted to ask. 4 tips for staying productive. On Monday, we're releasing a new video. I polled all of my a lot of our social media friends about their best tips for working from home for people who are doing it for the first time. And April's mad at me because I asked April and Liz to provide videos, but I asked them at the last minute and they didn't make it in the video. So she's feeling a little hard done by. But
that's why he said almost all our friends, because he didn't want. No,
if you guys promise not to tell, Deb Eckerling's here, and Deb actually gave one of the tips.
Oh, Deb, you're the lucky one. No,
yeah, Deb made it in. Well, Deb's was a good tip. So if you promise not to tell anybody, I'll tell you the tips right now, but you still have to watch the video on Monday when we release it. Is that a deal, Lawrence? Is it a deal? Are you going to do that? Okay. Can I trust you? I don't want to lose the view on the YouTube video by giving you all the good stuff right now. Okay. So some of the more creative ones. Well, one was your door is an amazing tool. If you have a workspace in your office, in your home, that you can close the door, make a deal with your kids and your spouse that when the door is closed, it's like you're at work. They can't even knock on the door. So only close the door when you're in a Zoom call or when you have to really focus on work. Don't abuse the door and just use it to shut them off, but have them treat the door as sacrosanct. And if they want to reach out to you and the door is closed, have them text you, just like they would have at work if they needed to reach out to you. So respect the door, not even knocking on the door, because you might be in the middle of a call of some sort and it could be very disruptive, but that sets proper boundaries.
It's a great tip.
Rebecca Coleman, but we got tips over all things. Some were productive, some were just us dealing with it sane and remaining healthy. When the going gets tough for a lot of us, you're slogging through hard work, and a lot of us will, when we need a little break for our mind or we want to avoid our responsibility, we'll jump into social media. Well, that's deadly today because, of course, as soon as you jump into Facebook or anything else, you're drawn right into the COVID-19 story, and it's just gonna, any relief you've got, you might be in that rabbit hole for who knows how long. But another thing we often do when we're at home, I'm sure this doesn't happen to you, April, is we go and we eat, because there's a fridge and all that good stuff over there to eat. So we just go and eat. And I think that we're all going to come out of this thing probably 5 or 10 pounds heavier. Rebecca Coleman, a buddy of mine who's a food blogger, she gave a great tip. She says on the weekend, still you try and find the weekend. It's there somewhere. You'll remember the day when you see it on the calendar. Make your lunches for the whole week. Pre-make them. That way, when you're hungry, you don't go and you don't grab chips or cookies or make yourself a grilled cheese sandwich or something. But instead, you take one of those healthy meals that you've prepared and you eat it, and then that satisfies you and you get back. So by doing that work ahead of time, you will then eat healthier working at home. That's a great tip, which I think a lot of us are experiencing. I know junk food is flying off the shelves right now because chips sound really good, don't they?
That's a great tip, because I think I shared with you the other day, we have like a kitchen right off our office here, but we actually hide food from the kids because they'll eat it all at once.
Which I think a lot of us are experiencing. I know junk food is. Yeah, they will, and that's nasty if you have to hide things, because then you forget where you've hid it, and then after we're out of this virus, like 6 months later, you go, "What's that smell?"
The challenge is that my husband likes the kitchen too much.
I'll tell you Deb Eckerling's tip. Deb Eckerling gave us a great tip, and Deb's tip was to have a dance break every day, which is a lot of fun. Gord's on here too. Gord Eisman. Gord gave us the tip. He's in the video too. Are you jealous, April? He has a really creative tip for discipline. He has accountability parties on Zoom, or he connects with a friend and they say, "This is what I'm working on right now." And then they just kind of work. It's like a study party that we used to do when we were in college and stuff, where you'd be in the library and you'd work at the same time as your friend, but you're working on different things. But the fact that you're both there, so you just have that connection open, so you can hear the other person tapping away on their keyboard or something like that. But that accountability gives them focus and helps them stay on task.
It's a great idea.
Good tip. Aren't these great tips?
Yeah.
What were some of the other tips that I really liked? It's a long video. It's like 15 minutes long. Well, okay. Since you couldn't be part of the video, what would
I'm not sharing with you. Nope.
No, please. It's not me. It's your community. Are you going to deny your community?
No. You're so funny. I think one of my tips is on days that I'm stressed with work, I really like to have my dogs by me. I know that's kind of a random thing, but I like pets. Like you have Farley in the background. You talk to Farley. I'm sure that brings joy. But no, at the end of the day, when one of the biggest things, like with the door, is just making sure that people know when you're live streaming in the house, because that is a challenge that, especially as kids have been home, that I've ran into, that they come into the office and they think nothing. They must think I talk to myself sometimes, and they'll jump into, they'll start talking to me. As you know, Steve, this has happened many times.
Yes, indeed. So we have people saying they're both losing and gaining weight because they can't go to Starbucks, so they're losing weight. Other ones are just saying, no, I'm gaining. It's absolutely gaining. What does Steven say? I'm renovating my house, including my office room, to add some, so it adds some anxiety, as I'm not finished and all the inspections are canceled. Oh, so I can't finish it. So I'm sitting in the middle of it. Oh, that is horrible.
Hard.
I posted on my personal Facebook page today that some, talking about cancellations of, you have to feel for your neighbors who have medical procedures planned that are being canceled. And some of them are fairly dire, and those are all being canceled as well. So it's bad sitting on your, waiting for the inspections to come. I wonder if they'll give you, the city inspectors will never give you a break, will they? They certainly won't.
No.
Oh, Lawrence is sharing social media, social distancing pickup lines. Yeah, if you're in the dating world, I guess this is kind of limiting.
Well, it's funny. I saw on TV, there's still like people are dating online, but they're doing it teleconference.
That might be really healthy.
Because they're having conversations with people. There was a thing on the nightly NBC News. They did it a few days ago, and they were showing that people were still dating because, human connection is important, and that they were doing teleconferencing dating.
Yeah. Well, there was all those funny memes of the first weekend when there was no sports, when I think it was some British thing was saying, no football this afternoon. Introduce myself to this woman sitting next to me on the couch. Apparently my wife, she's in healthcare, seems nice. So just getting to have to talk to people. Okay. Michael finally got to taking a Udemy course on FBA, which would be the fulfillment by Amazon. And I've had since Boxing Week sale. So he bought the course and he's gone through the course. That'll be interesting. We're going to be talking about that a lot in the gray zone coming up at some point in the not too distant future, Michael. So it'll be interesting for to draw on your now massive experience in fulfillment by Amazon. Mr. Donnell said, positive thoughts are contagious. Petting dogs respond with loving, and we see their joy, which gives us the joy of being, joy of being contagious. Yeah, it's huge evidence of why pets are so healing. They are indeed. Although have you seen all the memes of the dogs that are exhausted saying no more walks? Everybody in the family has walked it.
They're home.
I think in some places you're only allowed to go one person at a time, and like Shannon and I will go for a walk together. But in some places, that just one person. So the poor dog is going. One person goes for a walk, and then gets home, and the next one goes, and then the next one goes.
Oh, it's interesting that you say that, though, because I wonder if they're going to close down our state parks, because they actually did a thing on the news, on our local news yesterday, about the parks, because it's been nice out and people want to get outside, that they're meeting friends at the parks, or they're going to the parks, but they're actually, parking lots are full. And so the parks are full and people aren't maintaining their 6 feet, kind of social isolation distance requirement.
Indeed. Bob Poole says, I've stopped eating popcorn because I'm afraid of breaking a tooth. You got to get the Whirly Pop, Bob. I got, Shannon loves popcorn. And I bought, if you use the air popcorn makers, so many kernels come through. And if you do on a frying pan, it's hit and miss. You're going to burn everything. It's called the Whirly Pop. I don't know if you know about this. I should have the Amazon affiliate link. I should build an Amazon affiliate link right now. I wish I could. It's the best popcorn maker you ever got. It's a pot with a handle, and it's got a crank on the end of the handle, and it goes through a gear mechanism, and it's got a little thing that spins in the bottom, and it stirs your popcorn. So you just put a little bit of oil in the bottom, half a cup of popcorn kernels, or a third of a cup of popcorn kernels, and then you stir it while it's cooking, and it moves just like how in the movie theater it moves it around.
Yeah,
it moves the kernels around on the bottom so that you get 100% popping and no burning. It's a miracle. It is a absolute freaking miracle.
So there's no kernels in it. Does it take? So it's the
pops
kernels?
every single kernel.
Interesting.
Like maybe 2 or 3 at the end, but not anywhere near what you get from the air popper, because the air popper grabs the kernel and it blows the kernels out with it, right? It's ridiculous.
We use microwave popcorn actually, so.
Oh, that's so unhealthy.
I don't eat it, but yes, why
are you trying to kill your family?
No, one eats booty pop because they have braces now, so.
Okay. Okay.
Which has no kernels.
Oh, okay. Yeah, see, Kevin Diddell loves the whirly pop. You got it. Anybody else use one? Let us know.
How quickly does it?
Ray uses. We use the whirly pop. Love it. See?
How long does it take to cook the popcorn?
It's well, we've got a gas stove. It takes no time. Shannon, do you like the whirly pop?
I love the whirly pop.
Yeah, she's going. I love the whirly pop.
I'm gonna
Because I pop.
whirly
She
pop.
sits. There's lots of butter. It has to have lots of butter. That's the key.
So Andre's saying, read a great tweet this morning. At the end of the pandemic, half the population will have great cooking skills. The other half will have a drinking problem.
Yeah, that's a fear. Isn't that a fear?
Yes.
People who I know. I imagine AA is reaching out to their members and trying to find ways to keep them supporting each other and any of these different support groups. I imagine that we're going to see a lot of. There's going to be a lot of social healing that has to go on once we're all through this. We're going to have. I think empathy is going to be a really important skill moving ahead, or attribute.
So Bob had one.
It died years ago, and I got an air popper based on my wife's request. You are correct. It was the best. Yeah, I would actually trade in the wife then for the whirly pop. Yeah, just kidding.
I'm not sure Shannon would be happy to hear that. She
might
want to trade you.
She likes it. Now I have time to take that infamous Evernote course. You do indeed, Will. You do have time to take the Evernote course. There you go. And Danelle says it's actually faster than the microwave. I don't know if it is faster, but it's pretty fast. And it's participation. The stirring of the popcorn is quite cathartic. That looks kind of rude, doesn't it? Yeah, but it's quite cathartic. It's not a bad thing. Yeah. There we go.
So people are there's some comments that their parks have closed, which is great. I'm hoping they close ours.
Yeah, got it. Okay, so that's let's call it a day. It's 45 minutes or so into it. I don't want to take all of you guys' time, and we're really, this is more of a diversion than any teaching per se today. Coming up this week, for those of you that are interested, on Monday or so, we'll be dropping the new video on working from home, tips from working from home, which you've heard some of the best of. Thank you to those of you here who participated in that. On Wednesday, we are doing Webinar Wednesday, and we have got David lost his last name. It'll come to me. The founder of Demio, which is the webinar tool that we're using currently for Webinar Wednesdays. So he's going to be there to answer all the questions, and it's a good time because right now webinar tools are struggling with all of the bandwidth. But David's going to answer all of our questions about what about the technology background behind these webinar tools, what we can expect when we do have problems, how we should be dealing with them, and also we'll be talking about the hallmarks of what the best webinar purveyors are doing, what the best techniques for doing webinars. So I'm looking forward to that this week. And we'll be back next Friday for another one of these lives. And that's pretty much it for the week. We'll have a podcast, of course, that drops as well. And the podcast is going to be talking more about working at home as well. We're going to be talking about a lot of the different techniques. And I'll be talking about, for those who are just kind of getting into the entire work at home thing, just some of my best tips and experiences in setting up a small office and remaining sane and remaining married. That was when I sent out the request to all of the people to help us on the video. I said, give us your best tip at remaining sane, remaining productive, remaining married. That was the order of the three. So that's it, folks. Thanks so much for spending time with us. I hope you found it entertaining and valuable. Give us a thumbs up here so that the platform of choice knows that this was a good video and they will continue to share it.
Great to see everybody. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Be well and be safe.
Be kind to each other. Stay home. Have patience. Deal with fear by trusting the values that all the core values that we've built over all these years. We have a lot of value there. We've got a good foundation to work from, and that's gonna sustain us through the next weeks, and then into this new future that we are all going to be moving into together. Till next time, thank you, April.
Thanks, guys.
Have fun storming a castle.
Have a great day. Yes, and wash your hands.